But you know, as much as I like Drew, I've always thought that his original mallets from Mike Balter were too big. They've kind of just sat in my collection because I couldn't find a use for them on Marimba. And yes, actually, as you can see, Innovative Percussion's version of Drew Tucker's Mallet Vision, it just feels completely different. It feels really nice. Would I use these as a marimba solo mallet? This might be the one. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Studio. My name is Adam, and it's time for a mallet review. It is the Drew Tucker series from Innovative Percussion. Thank you so much to my studio VIPs, Robert Utobo, Will Flinner, Ryan Carlisle, Sung-Shun Han, Greg Harris, Dominic Chong, Dean P. Newberger, Marimba Maurice, and Scott Rader. Thank you so much for your continued support. And today's featured studio artist is Britton Anderson. Thank you so much for your continued support. And if you'd like to become a studio VIP or a studio artist, you can go to patreon.com/AdamTan, or you can click over here. Welcome back to the show once again. I hope you've been well. And yes, today we're going to be reviewing a mallet series that just came out literally 2 months ago. It's very, very new. It is the Drew Tucker series from Innovative Percussion. But before I continue with this video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my videos, especially given that my upload schedule in the last 2 weeks hasn't been the best. I've been a little bit slow, sorry about that. Because it's the start of the year, I've been working a lot on Marimba Fest stuff. That is the Marimba Festival that's happening in Perth in July 2020. If you want to check it out, it's at marimbafest.com. But also I've been trying to reorganize the studio, both metaphorically and also physically. There's a lot of stuff everywhere in the studio, and I've been recently just trying to rearrange it so it looks a bit nicer and more organized. And that stuff takes time. But yes, most of that is done now, so I can get back to making videos for you guys, which I really enjoy so much. So thank you so much again for your patience. But yes, anyway, back to the mallets. So Drew Tucker, I'm sure a lot of you guys know who Drew Tucker is, but if you don't, he is a vibraphone soloist. He does a lot of cool contemporary and jazz type vibraphone solos with his band, The New Standard. He also runs a thing called Mallet Lab with Eric Rucker. You can go and check them out in the description below. But basically, I've known him for about the last 2.5 years. I met him at PASIC 2017. We talked about collaborating. I went to Mallet Lab 2018 and I was a faculty member there. And I have his mallets now. And also, you might also remember these. These are the original Drew Tucker mallets from Mike Balter mallets. As we all know, Mike Balter mallets doesn't exist anymore. I really miss Mike Balter. But you know, as much as I like Drew, I've always thought that his original mallets from Mike Balter were too big. They're very, very big, especially this one. This is literally like a flying saucer. It is so big. And as for the orange model, which is the one that Drew used to use the most, this used to be even bigger. Like, this is actually a modified like V2 revision that is smaller, and it's still pretty big. Like, it still looks like a grenade on a stick. But all that being said, one of the things that these mallets were able to achieve was not only maximum projection. You could use these on both marimba and vibes. But as you guys know, I don't really play vibraphone on this show or ever. I don't have a vibraphone in the studio, and I never got to use these mallets for their intended purpose. So for the last 2 years, they've kind of just sat in my collection because I couldn't find a use for them on marimba. Whoa. Anyway, a couple of months down the track, I heard back from Drew, who said that because of the Mike Balter situation, he decided to make a brand new mallet series that was a much more refined version of these with the one and only Innovative Percussion. And yes, actually, as you can see, Innovative Percussion's version of Drew Tucker's Mallet Vision, if you like, is much more refined. It's a lot smaller. Like, look at that. It's maybe 2/3 of the size of the biggest one and maybe 70% of the size of this orange one. And it just feels completely different. It feels really nice. That being said, we have to do the full disclosure, which is that this video is not sponsored. Innovative Percussion did send me these mallets. Thank you very much, Innovative Percussion. But they did not say that I have to promote it. They didn't give me any sort of payment for saying nice things about it. I just really like mallets. And on a similar note, I don't even think Drew knows that I'm making this video, so this is about as unbiased as you can get. And the final thing that I have to say is, of course, you can see this is a marimba. I don't have access to a vibraphone, unfortunately, but there are many videos of Drew playing with these mallets on vibraphones. If you want to check those out, you can head over to his Instagram and maybe hear some short clips of what this sounds like on vibes. Okay, I really think this marimba is too low. Just give me a second.
Nice, nice.
Alright, back to business. Okay, so let's start off with the price. Now, these mallets come in just under $50 US, which may not sound that expensive at first because we know many marimba mallets from Innovative Percussion that float around that area. That being said, for a vibes mallet, it's pretty expensive. And I guess it's because this mallet is a little bit more technical, it's a bit more advanced, if you like. So this would not be a good purchase for a first mallet. I would definitely say no. But if you're a more seasoned player and you're looking for something that's a bit more unique, the price is not so bad. Now, even though the mallet is called the DT1, this mallet series only has one model, which is this pink one. And honestly, I don't think there needs to be any more because I feel like there's only so much you can do with a vibe mallet. Like, this mallet actually sounds pretty okay in all registers. Like, it's totally fine. It's not gonna crack the bottom bars. You don't go too hard. And it can also cut pretty well at the top. So now, let's move on to the build quality and design. And as you've seen on previous episodes of the show, I'd say that Innovative Percussion is pretty good in this area. Like, the overall feeling of their mallets is usually quite solid. Starting from the top, we have this pink color, which is really unique. I didn't expect Drew to come up with pink as his mallet color because I've never seen him wear pink ever. This shade of pink, almost magenta, is very, very unique. So I like that. Like, we're used to seeing so many mallets that are blue, yellow, green, red, white, black, like so many of these primary colors or lack thereof. We have once again the return of the UFO shape that Drew is known for, which is this disc-shaped core and this very sort of bulbous appearance, which we did see in the previous model, but it's a lot more shrunken and more refined in this one. I like to think that it looks more like a normal mallet in this situation. The stitching is really good, like really well put together, and it doesn't have any sort of squeeziness. And the shaft actually protrudes a little bit through the top of the core. I think I can feel it over here, which kind of gives it a little bit more stability. I like that. Now, moving down from the head, you have the block of text, which I've always thought with Innovative Percussion and their rattan mallets is not always the best. It's always hit or miss. You can see that 3 out of 4 of my Drew Tuckers look pretty decent, pretty well printed, and then the 4th one is just super smudged. I don't know how that happened, and it also has a glue stain. Very strange, very, very, very strange. But that being said, you know, these are samples, so maybe they gave me a less good pair. You never know. And as usual, it has the Innovative Percussion logo. It has DT1, which is Drew Tucker 1. It has the Drew Tucker signature, which is very aesthetic. And then we have the 3 most important letters in the world. It is USA. As we look at the rattan shaft itself, this is a really interesting point. If you compare this to the older Mike Balter shafts, now I've actually owned a lot of Mike Balter vibraphone mallets like the Tony Miceli series and the Pro Vibe, the Balter Blues. And I've always found that those rattan shafts have always been quite flexible, and over time they start to bend and you get this sort of banana effect where it's like literally bent. And I'm not getting any of that with the Innovative Percussion mallet, which is a lot stiffer. Like, the rattan feels much less susceptible to bending. It still has that sort of flexibleness, the bounciness that you expect from a rattan mallet, but not so much like this one, which feels quite wild in comparison. I think all mallets should have this sort of stiff rattan. It's so much easier to use. Well, for me anyway, I don't know, maybe I'm just weak. Anyway, you get to the bottom of the mallets, and as usual, this is not a case of smooth ends make friends. Like, come on, this is just rattan, it's just like this. It's super rough, super textured, and if you scratch this on your hand enough times, you're probably gonna get blisters. It's okay. I mean, if you're using this in the aforementioned cross grip, like something like this grip, I think this is Burton. I'm not an expert on cross grips. You're never gonna have the contact with the bottom of your hand anyway, so it's fine. But if you're using this in a Stevens grip like this, look at that, look at all that contact. Oh! Now let's move on to the ergonomics. And yes, these mallets are pretty weighty. I'd say they're pretty heavy, but they're not as heavy as the old ones. The old ones always felt more tilted towards the front because the shaft is actually slightly longer. If you hold them side by side, you'll see that the shaft also protrudes out more on the older model. Look at that. It's just tilting out a little bit more. Feels a lot more in your control because the weight is more towards U. It's also because the shafts are very short compared to other mallets. For example, this is a Beverly Johnston mallet, which coincidentally can be used on marimba and vibraphone, and look how much longer it is. There's almost like an inch of space. I'm not a jazz person. Nope. And then in terms of 4 mallet grip, it feels much easier to use than the old model. Which brings me to the sound test. Yes, we are going to test the sound of these mallets through various means on the marimba. And once again, I'm sorry I couldn't get a vibraphone. But before I do the sound test, if you're enjoying today's video, please give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And make sure you've hit that red subscribe button below to keep up with my uploads, because I upload new content like this every week. Okay, let's go. 하나, 둘, 셋. Okay, I bet you weren't expecting that. Yes, that is my brand new 4 1/3 octave marimba solo, title pending, but it is actually an exclusive marimba solo for Marimba Fest 2020 participants who are under 18. Yes, that's not the final piece, but we'll keep refining it. I'm going to release it in a couple of months exclusively to the Marimba Fest 2020 participants. And Robert Utomo is writing the compulsory piece, a brand new piece exclusively for Marimba Fest 2020 participants for everyone over the age of 18. So it's going to be really, really fun. I love premiering new music. But anyway, back to the mallets. Yes, I find these mallets way more enjoyable to use than the old ones. They're definitely more refined. Would I use these as a marimba solo mallet? Probably not, because they do get quite harsh quite quickly on marimba. I think on vibraphone it's a different story. It's probably just the right amount. But on the marimba, it does sound a little bit offhand if you're the only instrument playing. Now, of course, if you're using this in a band or an orchestra or a percussion ensemble or even front ensemble, these mallets would be quite suitable because they can cut quite well while retaining some warmth. Do these work as a marimba and vibes combination mallet? Can you use them on both instruments? Yes. Is it equal? No, I think it's definitely still more of a vibes mallet. I'd say it's like 70% vibes, 30% marimba. If you're new to percussion and you're just buying your first mallets for school, I would not recommend buying something like this. However, if you're a more advanced player and you just want more mallets to get more sounds, something that can be used on a variety of instruments, this might be the one. But yes, a really fun mallet to play with for sure. And I do have to say once again, thank you so much to Innovative Percussion for sending me these mallets. Thank you to Drew Tucker for designing these. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to get more mallets on the show for you guys so that you can have a better mallet buying decision. But yes, if you enjoyed today's video, please give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And please leave a comment down below with what your favorite mallets are, whether it's marimba mallets, vibe mallets, or marimba and vibe mallets. I don't really know many mallets that can do both nowadays that are still good. So if you know any, let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you haven't already, please hit that red subscribe button below to keep up with my uploads. Once again, hit that notification bell if you want to be first to know when I upload new videos on this channel, which is basically every single week. So there's a lot of fun content coming up. I want to review this other instrument that's been sitting in my studio for a long time, since July last year. It's something completely unrelated to keyboard percussion. I'll let you guess what it is. But yes, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I really appreciate it so much. Also, don't forget to check out Marimba Fest at marimbafest.com, and you can also follow the Instagram over here. It's a really great festival experience. I can't wait to see some of you guys that I know are going to be part of this special event. Yes, all right. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode of The Studio. Good night.
I finally stopped running now. With you, I found my peace somehow. Let go of every thought that was holding me back. Yeah, I'm in love with you in every way. That joy you give me every day.